This is Perspectivas Latinas, a community service of CAN TV. I'm Juan Carlos Hernandez. President Obama's executive action has moved the country forward on immigration. But what are the benefits exactly? Katya Nuques from Enlace, Chicago, is here to talk about some of those changes and what they mean to the community. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
And let's first of all talk about Enlace Chicago, and what this organization does for the community.
Sure. Enlace Chicago is a community-based organization serving primarily the needs of the Little Village community in Southwest Chicago. So basically, in Little Village, we have approximately between 80,000 and 100,000 community residents. So that's the people that we primarily serve. In the community, we have about 85% of our community is Mexican or Mexican American. So it's a primarily Latino community. And we serve the community in four kind of like big different areas, right? One of them is education. So we partner with the public schools to provide additional services. Many times the services that the Chicago Public School has a hard time continuing to provide because of budget cuts. For example, after school programs, special tutoring in the areas of reading and math, and of course additional services such as science and arts, technology, etc. We also focus on providing services for parents and parental engagement at the school level. So English as a second language, exercising, etc. We have entrepreneurial activities for parents, etc. The other area is violence prevention. We do have a community that unfortunately continues to face, problems in this area.
Right,
so
you do hear, unfortunately, that's sometimes the only news we hear from Little Village, although it's not the only news, is gun violence or something like that.
Yeah, which is very unfortunate that always makes it the news.
Right, not other things. But
not good things, but that. But however, we do have, a focus on intervention programs, so addressing the needs of youth before they are involved with gang violence. But we also serve, in intervention, which means, once they are issues related to violence and gang related issues, we also do intervention through one of their programs called Ceasefire, which is, you're familiar with it. It works with outreach workers, people who are on the streets trying to solve issues. Another area that we work on is community economic development. We're very interested in our community residents being empowered and participating in their own development.
How do you empower them?
So one of the things that we do is offering leadership training for our community residents. So we want for people to really participate in decision making. So offer opportunities in the areas of their interest for decision making is also very, very important, right? So for example, right now we're engaged in collaboration with the 22nd Ward and something's called participatory budgeting. And that's a process where basically the community residents make decisions about how to spend the aldermanic menu money. So the $1.3 million that every alderman receives, the community has a saying on it, right?
That kind of the style, like, well, I know at least the most familiar example that I know is from Brazil, although it's not the only place where it's done, but that's one of the main areas in the world where it happens, right?
Exactly. I think it became a little bit like known or more famous because of the way that Brazil implemented it. When I was working in Peru, they were also implementing something very similar. So yeah, kind of like based on those very good examples of civic participation, we're doing that in Chicago. Not many aldermen, unfortunately only 3, but including the alderman of the 22nd Ward, we're doing that. But all of these, the encouragement of parents' participation in things such as the local school council, No Child Left Behind committee, increasing parental involvement in schools. We have a parent mentor program, which is parents working as teacher assistants and going into the classroom. So these are the ways that we want to empower people, besides, of course, a structured leadership development program.
But you do have a structured leadership, right? Tell me, program. Tell me about that.
So our leadership development program happens 4 times. Right now, I think it's 6 times a year, but
Oh, wow.
we offer it in English and Spanish, and it's usually a 2-day training where people learn about power dynamics, learn about who makes decisions for their neighborhood, in the city, state government, federal government, and how those decisions are made. And what do we do as members of the community to affect systems, to affect policies, and how do we organize ourselves so that we can actually make a change when a change is needed.
Wow. So it's available in both languages, and I'm sure a lot of people come in with the idea or the thought. Unfortunately, some of them, I'm sure a lot of them don't. And some people do have that idea about themselves, like, well, I'm a leader, or I at least feel or see myself like that. But other people might come in a little more shy. How do you help awaken that potential you see in there? Just give me a little bit of that, please.
Yeah, no, that's very, very important to empower, to empower people to let them know that they definitely can make a change in whatever place they are, right? That's why we always try to make sure that we know where people are at and what's their interest, right?
Okay.
Because sometimes you can't really force people to go in one direction. Like, for example, we're going to talk about violence prevention or education or immigration. You have to really meet people where they're at, right? If their primarily interest, for example, is immigration costs because a lot of their families are affected, etc., the interest and the need to be integrated and involved in this kind of action is going to be higher. So that's that's where you should go, right, if that's your interest. So as a community-based organization, we try to offer opportunities in all of these areas, right, so that people really get engaged in what they're passionate about.
So not only are they becoming leaders, they also know and feel that it's theirs, because in whatever area they're working, because it's not imposed on them.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, a number of mothers, for example, for the community, they have become extremely engaged in environmental issues, in local gardening, community gardening. So they are more involved in terms of advocating for health, for community health, for children's health, etc.
Wow. And you mentioned the word that the main thing I want to talk about today, which is immigration and helping people work on that issue. How does Enlace get its hands dirty in that area and really get out there and work with people and bring people in to serve the community?
So Enlace is a member of the Illinois Coalition for Immigrants and Refugee Rights, actually a board member myself. So we are a part right now of a campaign called Illinois is Ready. We're working in collaboration with the city, with the government, the governor. We're also working with the Mexican consulate to make sure that we are all, as a state, ready to respond to this executive action on immigration. So that's one of the things that we're doing locally in our organization. We have, for example, an immigration action team that it's a number of community residents that are interested and passionate about this cause. So that's the main group that leads our actions in terms of immigration. So if there's a march or an action that we should participate on, this is the group that basically tells the rest of the of the members of Enlace, this is something that we should be involved in. Let's go, let's organize, and etc. Right? In terms of services, we actually provide right now legal services through a legal clinic in collaboration to the Community Activism Lawyer Alliance. So Community Activism Lawyer Alliance is a new nonprofit organization. Lam Ho, who is the executive director, recently got a grant from Harvard to open legal clinics in collaboration with community-based organizations, and we were lucky enough to be one of the organizations that they're working with.
They're not part of you, but they're working in collaboration with you.
In collaboration with us, yes. So it's the two organizations, Enlace and Cala, work together to provide legal services for the residents of Little Village.
And how does that work? I show up and say, I want to talk to a lawyer.
Well, actually, yes.
Okay.
If it's a Tuesday between 5 p.m. and 8 p.m. and Tuesdays, you show up and you say, I have this need. It could be related to anything. It could be labor, housing, immigration, etc. And you just, you're going to have a conversation with one of the attorneys.
And let's say I have an issue with my landlord or my neighbor's dog, even those kind of legal questions.
Yes, any kind of legal question. As of course, as of now, and because of the needs of our residents, of our community residents, most of the cases that the attorneys are seeing are going to be immigration related. But they are there on Tuesdays, and then because
Tuesday evenings, right?
Tuesday evenings from 5 to 8, because they have to do follow-ups. What they do is they make an appointment with the clients that need a follow-up, a revision of documentation, or they need to continue working with them. So on Fridays is only by appointment, and those appointments are usually done on Tuesdays.
Okay, you say, okay, I have this issue with, I don't know, with something in my life, or with a car accident, or something like that. Okay, that's a Tuesday night. All right, we talk it out, and we make an appointment for Friday.
Exactly.
Okay. Now, for I'm sure that the questions of immigration will just grow with this new executive action, and as you were saying, the extension of DACA and now DAPA, right?
So I want to say two basic things. There are other changes that are also part of the executive action, but the two that I think our community is mostly responding to are those. Deferred action for parents' accountability is this new temporary permission for 3 years, actually, for parents who have children that are American citizens or children that are legal permanent residents. These are the people who qualify that were here before 2010, before January of 2010.
They arrived after?
If they arrived after, they're not part of the plan. And they have to have been in the country November 20th.
Okay.
Those are the conditions. The expansion of DACA includes, of course, as you guys know, DACA is the fraction for childhood arrivals. What they did with DACA is to basically like open the cap. So there's no age limit now for DACA. So even if you're 40, but you were brought as a child when you were 16 or younger, you qualify for DACA.
Okay.
They also extended the period of DACA. It used to be that you had to be in the country before 2007. Now it's before 2010. So everybody before 2010. And again, this is a special permission to stay in the country for 3 years. It's not a change of status, because that is not within the president, what he can do in terms of action.
His
right?
constitutional power.
Exactly.
So just so we're straight, and so that our viewers know, and so that I understand, this is not immigration reform.
This is not immigration reform, and we have to be clear about that, which is a question that also came up when DACA was released, right? This is an executive action, and the president is doing what he can do within his power, right? So this is giving people a temporary permit that basically says you're not going to be deported within these 3 years. They're going to receive a valid work authorization, and people will also, this is another part of it that is interesting. they will be able to travel to their countries of origin with a special permission,
Oh, wow.
with advance permission. So
Mhm.
advance parole is part of the plan.
That's
But it's
interesting.
not a change of status.
So that is interesting because if I were, for example, I'm sure there are many individuals who arrived here as children and have never seen their grandparents or other family members in their countries of origin. And now with this executive action, and they will be able to return.
Yes,
Mhm.
that's one thing that because I I think the foundation or maybe like something that really pushed for this to happen
Mhm.
was this concept of family unit, right? Family unification. So one of the things that people have been saying is in complaining about is, I have a parent or a mother who's sick in Mexico and I haven't seen them for these many years, and and I can't leave the country. So that's one of the principles behind this change is family unification.
Mhm. Well, so just to be clear, also on well, you just reminded me. Unfortunately, President Obama, and obviously I will be giving my own opinions here, but um, he could have done something about this long ago because he did promise during the first year of his administration that he would address the issue of immigration, but really didn't. And he actually deported 2 million people, unfortunately, and it caused a lot of, I think, anger and I wouldn't say, certainly anger and I think hurt, not just disappointment would be a better word with him and the hope that the community had with him. And these individuals, these divided families, some family in the south of the U.S. border or wherever they may have been deported to, will those people in those other countries who were deported, will they have a chance, just to make this clear for our viewers, will they have a chance to get this special status right now?
Right now, the as it's written, this law applies for people who are in the United States, who were present in the United States in November 14th,
Okay. And who arrived before 2010?
who arrived before 2010.
Okay. And also, if they have children who are U.S. citizens or permanent residents, right?
Correct. There are a few changes that are contemplated for what's called the 3 and 10 year bar, but I am not completely aware of all of the details of those changes. So for
What
that,
changes?
people should talk to their immigration attorneys.
Okay, because that's who can actually get into the specific cases with greater detail. And they
Yeah.
could certainly call you and ask about the attorneys and the attorney services, right? At Enlace. You were going to say something else?
No.
Oh, so then, again, to be clear, and for our viewers, individuals who don't have children and who arrived before 2010, who don't have U.S. citizen children or permanent resident children and arrived before 2010,
After 2010.
but before,
Yeah.
will they have a chance?
If they don't have children that are U.S. citizens or permanent residents, only if they are, if they were children when they were brought to the United
Okay.
States. So because they're an expansion of DACA without age limit, these individuals can apply
If they arrived as children.
if they arrived as children.
But if they arrived as adults and don't have any children,
Then no, they are left out. That's why we have to be conscious of the fact that there are about 11 million of undocumented people in the United States. This particular action is helping about 4.5 million of undocumented people.
If
So
I-
we still have many that are left out.
wow,
Over 6 million.
yeah, over 6 million. And and the 5 million that I keep hearing, that's a hopeful number as well, right? That's a projected number. That's who could possibly benefit, but it might not be that many people that actually benefit.
Exactly. We have to we have to think about the fact that, for example, about 800,000 of eligible DACA applicants did not apply.
Really?
There are many reasons why.
Mm.
Yes. We also have to think about the fact that in 2017, with the new president and a different administration, anything can happen, right? It's their decision of the new administration what to do with this executive action.
So that new administration can finally or can extend this executive action, perhaps?
They could, and they could also say, well, we have these many people that have a temporary status that are kind of in limbo, so we have to do something to, to create a permanent solution, and they can act upon it.
They could,
Or not.
Or not. So they could work with Congress and actually create true immigration reform. Because as you said, this is not immigration reform.
This is not immigration reform. This is not comprehensive immigration reform. In order to pass comprehensive immigration reform, you need the Congress to act. You need law, right? Federal law to change. This is executive action. This is kind of like a Band-Aid put in a very it's a temporary solution that it's going to affect millions of families, that is going to make things better for millions of families that are in the shadows, that are afraid of being deported tomorrow or, being divided from their families tomorrow. So it definitely affects millions of people in a positive way. However, it is not comprehensive immigration reform. It is not a permanent solution.
It's, like you said, it's a Band-Aid, and the whole the problem of immigration in this country is huge, but that would require Congress. Now that this executive action has taken place, and what now? What should people be doing? What should they be looking out for? Because there's a lot of questions flying around.
Yes, the thing that people need to be aware of. First of all, try to not work with notary publics, right? They are in the United States, at least. You just fill a form online and boom, you're a notary public, right? It's not the same in many countries.
Right.
In Mexico and maybe in Ecuador, people have to do a little bit of studying, or probably maybe even have to study law to be able to become a notary. Not here. So there are people that are going to be offering services, unfortunately, and not providing solutions. So make sure that if you talk to someone, is an attorney, is an immigration attorney particularly, and has knowledge about what's available and what can you do for your particular case. The other thing people need to be doing is collecting documents. The government is going to require original documents of things that prove identity. So things as your birth certificate, your passport from your country of origin. You also need documents that prove that you were present in the United States before 2010. So, medical records, etc. The other thing that people need to be aware of, they need to be updated in terms of their taxes. So they need to make sure that that's taken care of. If there are some special cases, let's say that you have a DUI or you have any kind of problem, legal issues, etc., you need to talk to an immigration attorney, because they are the ones that really know how to deal with special cases.
Yeah, because then that could throw the whole opportunity into question, right? If there is some outstanding legal issue that hasn't been taken care of or addressed.
Exactly. Like there are many people that are going to be priority in terms of they're going to be able to get their temporary permit first. Are people who have no problems with the law, etc. So there are other categories that if you're in that category, you're not going to be able to fix anything. For example, of course, people that have issues related to terrorism or gang violence or things of other felonies, it's going to be much more difficult.
Now, again, to let our viewers know, tell us how Enlace can help them in this process, what you offer and will be offering in the time to come.
Yes, so there are two programs that Enlace has in relation to immigration, in relation to providing services. One of them is providing services so that people that are legal permanent residents become citizens. The other program, of course, is that legal clinic where we're serving community residents in whatever aspect they need, such as housing, labor, etc. But immigration is going to be probably the priority in the next year, if not more than that.
Right.
So we are providing those services on 2756 South Harding, Tuesdays from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. Anybody can come, and then they'll get an appointment for Fridays. And in terms of organizing and advocating for comprehensive immigration reform, which the fight continues because we can't drop it right now.
Right.
This is, as we said, a temporary solution that doesn't solve anything in the long term. So we need to keep on fighting for that. So Enlace is, as a member of ICER and also as a community-based organization representing the needs and the interest of many, we are continuing with that fight. We have an immigration action team that organizes and leads our fight around immigration.
Wow. Certainly a lot to offer the community. Thank you so much for coming out to share some of that today.
Thank you for having me, Juan Carlos.
And to you, thank you for joining us. Perspectivas Latinas is a community service of CAN TV. If your nonprofit organization would like to work with CAN TV, call 312-738-1400 and ask for nonprofit services. Tune in to Perspectivas Latinas for local issues and concerns every Thursday at 8:30 p.m. on CAN TV 21. I'm Juan Carlos Hernandez. Thank you for joining us.